Welcome. This is Roger A. Watson. I am so glad that you can view this introductory video. I pray that it'll help you kind of understand who I am and give you a bit of information about myself. Well, where should we begin? I am from heaven, but I was born in Trinidad and Tobago in a place called Carenage. Grew up on Hague Street, then Abbey Pujard Street, went to St. James Secondary School, graduated in 1981, had a pretty decent childhood and upbringing, had some challenges but made it through those, family challenges, made it through those, made it to adulthood, and in 1986 gave my life to Christ, and that's where the story really begins. That's where I met the most wonderful and amazing person that I've ever met. Her name is Magdalene Jacinta Isaac. Wow. So we became friends. Didn't have any ulterior motives at the time, but eventually the friendship started gelling and we became closer as we became friends. Well, I saw potential. She said she didn't see anything in me, for years. Whatever. But anyway. So I liked her, eventually she was free and unavailable, so we started going out, and the time came I had to migrate to the U.S. 1989. Came to Connecticut, went back and proposed in 1992, married her in 1993. She received her visa in 1994, and by that time I had moved from Connecticut to Georgia to attend the Atlanta Christian University, which is now called Point University. Atlanta Christian College, now Point. So she came to, we were staying on campus, had an apartment there. We had 2 daughters while we were there. 1998, graduated, moved from campus to live right here where this video is being produced. And we had a pretty good life. We went through our initial stages of marriage, the challenges, and I'm telling you, by 1996, 97, it just kept getting better and better and better. But it required us to make some changes in our lives, which we did. We were attending church, World Changers Church International under Dr. Creflo Dollar and Pastor Taffy, and great teaching, beautiful ministry. So we were just doing well. And then in 2007, she started noticing some things about her body, not doing too right. By 2008, it started to be noticeable. And in August of 2008, she had to retire from her job. She ended up in the hospital for 5 days, and then after that, eventually she ended up on dialysis. So that's August 2008, and in November 2008 is when she asked to go to the hospital. Her mom was here. Her mom woke me up and said, "Hey, Jesse said she needs to go." So we got her ready. She's coughing. She's having trouble maintaining herself. She didn't want an ambulance. She said, "Just drive." So I drive up there as quickly as possible. They get her in, and literally within 2 hours, my wife's on life support. She cannot breathe. Her lungs, one lung is completely full, and the other one is 3/4 full. She's trying to breathe on 1/4 of a lung. And the lung is filled with diseases, CMV, PCP, Legionnaire's disease, and Candida. Those were the 4 that they identified. So she's on life support. Pretty tough time. I'm starting to break down in the hospital. I can't even think straight. I'm like, what is going on here? Jesus. Questions just start running through your mind. What did I do? What was wrong? Did we do something wrong? Just a whole bunch of things. But eventually, she kind of went in and out of comas and so forth. But thank God she was able to leave the hospital on December the 12th, I believe, in 2008, and go to rehab. She had to learn to write again, walk again, speak again, feed herself again, and all of that. And so we left the rehab and then brought her home. And so she went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to not needing anything. So 2009 was a year of kind of getting better. 2010, they were both kind of up and down years. And then in 2011, she started deteriorating again. And so we're looking at all different options with the hospital and so forth, transplant and whatnot. Nevertheless, it came right at about the month of September. I was working at a company. I'd have an hour lunch. I'd leave work, come home, feed her whatever she needs, get her cleaned up, whatever, and then go back to work. Then after work, come straight home. The role of caregiver is included in the role of a husband. It's what I don't like to say the word signed up for, but it's a part of it, And the reason why you can transition easily between one role to the next is because of friendship. She was my best friend, and whether or not she was strong and healthy didn't matter. That was my friend. That was my wife. It was easy to do that, and I just plug that there for the men or women that are finding it hard to do things for the person that you say you love. If you really love them, you will do it. You will do whatever they need in order to be satisfied. Nevertheless, after that period of time, she went in a few Sundays before she passed. I fed her the last meal. She didn't like the hospital food, so we had people that would cook and bring things in, and she'd eat a little bit. And eventually, that Sunday night, about 12 days or so before she passed, she ate, said she was good, she was going to rest, and that was the last conversation we had in the hospital, as it were. A few days later, her mom came, a Friday. Then the Saturday we had our family meeting, and then on the Monday morning, I'm sleeping and dreaming that I'm in the room with her, and she just sits up in the bed. You're laying down and you just sit right up, and she says, "Where am I?" And I said, "You're in the hospital." She said, "Why am I still here?" And I said, "Well, your mom came, and we're praying and fasting." And before I can finish with my excuses, she says to me, "Let me go." And she falls back in the bed. And as she falls back in the bed, I wake up out of my bed, and I look at the clock, and it says 7:35. For those of you that know numbers, 7 is the number of completion, 3 is the number of the Trinity, and 5 is the number of grace. And that's what I woke up to that morning. I couldn't go back to sleep. Eventually, we went up to the hospital. There was a couple that was there praying. And then about after 12, they left. And then after 2, I had told her mom and her sister what happened. And I went to her in the bed, and I said into her ear, "I see the Lord sent you to talk to me this morning." I said, "Okay, I'll let you go." I said, "I'll see you soon, but not too soon." I wasn't ready to die. So I said, "I'll see you soon, but not too soon." So with that, and then we had one other person that came, our pastor at the time. We had gone to another church to help, and her daughter, the pastor's daughter, came. So there were 4 of us in the room plus Jesse, and right at about 4 o'clock, the numbers started getting worse. They were already bad, but they were much worse now. And then probably about 4:15, 4:20, she passed, flatlined, and I just shouted out, "Lord, I will still serve you. Lord, I will still worship you. Lord, I will still work for you." And I think I was at my rock bottom, as it were. That's what came out of me. It just came out of me, probably just to keep me sane, keep me from going crazy. But nevertheless, I shouted that, and right after that, she lifted out the bed just a little bit, and did like, and then fell back in the bed. And I believe that's when her spirit and her soul left her body. I had never seen that before. That, I can't forget that. That was something else. Nevertheless, that's what happened that day. And we stood there in the room for a while, and I mean, you get this kind of a numb feeling, and tears. I was crying a lot, and so that's kind of how that day played out, and I know why the Lord sent her to talk to me. Number one, she had already said take the machines off, and number two, we discussed it. Her, my daughters, and I, we discussed it before she went into the coma, and I just couldn't do it. But after that dream, I told her mom and her sister, Tuesday morning, I am turning off that machine. She wants to fight on her own without the machine. If she fights, she wins, she stays. If she fights, she wins, she goes. Either way, she wins. And that's how my dear Jessie went on to be with the Lord. So that will conclude part 1. Stay tuned, part 2. You can click on that and listen to that one as well. God bless.